Yo, YouTube, GK back, and we are here. If you have followed along, this video will make perfect sense to you. However, if you simply played Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X2, the remastered edition, mind you, because the remastered edition offers a lot of stuff, just like the international versions of 10, the true versions, I'll call them from now on. If you didn't play those, then a lot of the story aspects in this audio drama are going to be foreign, they're not going to make sense to you, and anytime you go look up this information, it's going to be wrong and biased. Okay? Basically just trashing it just to trash it. Of course, a lot of us Final Fantasy fans like our video games to be standalone titles, but I would like to remind you for a second and ask and challenge you, when was the last time a Final Fantasy title was standalone by itself? I am going to wager that you're going to name games that are very, very old. In fact, I may even wager to say that none of them are standalone because of games like Dissidia or World of Final Fantasy. However, this is just a prelude to what we are going to discuss in the audio drama for Final Fantasy X. If we exclude those types of games, what games do not have other content that are for the game's world that are not in video game form? Well, we definitely have Final Fantasy 15 with their anime and movie. And definitely have Final Fantasy 7 with their movie and their spin-off games. So I just wanted to really put that into scope for you. And those are just the recent Final Fantasy titles that I'm going to assume that a lot of you know and would have played. The ones before that, some of them even come before my time, but just barely. So we're not even really going to get into some of that. And multimedia back then was not how it was now. So I challenge you to pick a Final Fantasy title that didn't, in some way, devise methods in telling the story of those worlds in alternate forms. That's the first thing I would like you to understand about this audio drama before we even start the audio drama and talking about it. The other point, this audio drama is a sequel to Final Fantasy 2.5, the novella. The novella is all on my page. You can even find a link for the original text, and I talk about the novella and a lot of what goes on. Not everything, but yes, this is technically the last installment in the Final Fantasy in Spira's lore, and that's what I'm going to refer to it as now, Spira's lore. Okay, so clearly, if you jump into this right after X2 and don't know anything about the novella and don't really understand what things have changed and what characters know, I read a lot and people say this is dumb, stupid, da. It's because they don't understand that Yuna and Tidus and other characters in the world have learned things that are monumental, world-shattering things about themselves and about the world that isn't explicitly mentioned in this audio drama. We have new characters coming into this audio drama that, if you're bothered by these new characters, well then the novella and all the new characters introduced in that, then you're really just going to have problems. And I'm here to dismiss that after so long. It's been so long and I still see the same favorited comment coming up first when you try to search anything about this audio drama. And I really just want to dispel that because it's unfair criticism entirely. It is just gamers who literally don't want to do any extra work, who don't want to hear this extra story from the director they love, right? The director made the game they love. However, they don't want to accept the more TLC, tender love and care, that the director puts into their stories and their world building. It blows my mind sometimes. I'm not saying everything is great, by no means. And this isn't a critique. This is simply just a explanation of what's going on for those of you who might feel lost and are so inclined to find out the truth of the matter. It is not for the ones who simply just want to bash for the sake of sounding cool or to bash because they are ignorant and don't want to put in that extra work. So without further ado, and that out of the way, that precursor stuff, we'll get into the will drama. Now, there are things we have to discuss first that are really important. Titus did die, and Yuna beckoned him back. Notice I didn't say the word summon because they are very different things. Very the same, but very different. A summoner is a lot more powerful than Bevelle made them to be, okay? That shouldn't be too hard to imagine that Bevelle would change what a summoner can do over time and their power levels and what they're actually able to create. Another misconception is that Titus and Yuna, fall out of love. No. Yuna beckoned Titus back, and she beckoned a version of Titus that is very, very, very fragile. That's why when Chuami goes to shake, it's a character in this in this audio drama, goes to shake his hand, he feels weak. It's because he himself is fading again, which the Faith said he would come back in at the end of Final Fantasy X, pretty explicitly. Because the beckoning is, however strong the person who beckoned the image, however strong that image is what you're gonna get. The problem with Titus is he was always a dream of the Faith, or so we think, and it's pretty well proven that to be true until either more in depth. That's when you start getting into the realm of theory and and conjecture. Well, let's just state the facts that we know. He is a dream of the Faith, so we don't know how beckoning dreams of the Faith works, right? Because they're not physical forms. It's not like Wakka is beckoning his father, who was real person because it had a child. The other big one is that Chuami is Auron's daughter. Now, we have no examples in all of the world and lore that unsent can produce children. We know they don't age, right? It's pretty clear that they don't age. Like whatever time you died at is kind of when you come back. However, that age theory can change. When you look at Auron, when he died, he didn't have the beard, and he comes back with the beard. So maybe it's not good to say that they don't age. Let's just say their rate of aging is completely different. However, I do think the Auron instance is a bad instance of unsent not being aged. Because when you think about Mi'ihen, and you start putting time to how long you've been unsent. Characters like Bria, again, that name's gonna sound foreign to you if you did not take the time to do the novella. So I picture Bria being Auron's age-ish, but he lived for 1,000 years. So you would think he would be like a Mi'ihen type. So that concept is still very tentative. However, there are no times and no cases that an unsent can have a child. So to think that Auron had a child that he didn't know about really goes against a lot of what his core character is and was, a devout person of Bevelle, and he wanted a wife, but she wouldn't take him. Now, it could be that she didn't take him because they had a baby out of wedlock, and she knew it would ruin his career. Now, that's a backstory I'm fabricating, but that is the only instance in which it makes sense that Chuami would be his daughter, and her age doesn't exactly match up with what I think her age would be. However, again, that kind of time frame stuff can be manipulated, and what I just said was conjecture. But do not think that is his daughter and no one knows about it, and Lulu doesn't know, which she says in this audio drama, and it's because he did it while he was unsent. I disbelieve that entirely, and the only way someone's gonna convince me of that is if unsent can have babies, then Auron did it in the Zanarkand of old. Did it in Titus's Zanarkand. That timeline continued. Maybe Chuami saw somewhat of the and got transported here. But again, that's even so crazy, I can't even fathom it. So I'm not even going to touch that concept anymore. Just what I said as fact. No unsent can have babies, as we know. And we'll leave it at that for now. One of the key signifiers here is the shoe puff. Now, I might have a video coming out dispelling the shoe puff theory entirely, because they said there was only one in Final Fantasy X. However, when you look in Final Fantasy X2, you can clearly see more than one shoe puff hanging around Beaconell, hanging in the Moonflow. There is clearly more than one. However, it's not necessarily made. It is made clear that they say there's only one. However, you could be wrong, and there could have been another one, and they were breeding in X2, and however, they still are going extinct. I find that to be a little iffy. However, those are the facts, and there are multiple shoe puff, and even though you're going to look all over the web and say, hey, where's these other shoe puff? I'll have another video out just, showing the other shoe puff, but if you really dig, you'll find it. People are also saying that the shoe puff and people are coming back like as real flesh and blood. Again, I have another issue with that because of the novella. Beckoning is very strong, right? It's not exactly like an unsent. It's not exactly like a summon. Think of a beckon as a stronger emotion, a stronger power, and a stronger tie, a stronger bond. So they could come back and feel relatively whole. However, Tidus is our example, is that that these creatures or these people aren't exactly themselves. They might only be what those people, whoever are calling them, remembers them to be. And that specifically can tie to the shoe puffs, because everyone in the world would have known a shoe puff and seen a shoe puff, and it's not a human, so it's not that complex. And sin. If you remember the sin of our game, I have a different theory that every sin has been different, because our sin likes water a lot. We know Jecht did and had the wings. I don't believe every sin just was that amorphous blob kind of thing and took that shape. I believe every sin looked different. However, that's a personal theory I have. However, this summoner could be so powerful and from another time. We also learn that there's multiple realities. Maybe not realities, dimensions, time waves of Spira's timeline. So this person or thing could actually be from a different time when the summoners were actually more powerful, and is beckoning that and doesn't need to recall them, can just do it. That would create a villain, right? That would be, first of all, really dope that they don't have to do that. It would create a power distance, a power struggle, and Yuna would have to get stronger that way. And she does get blessed with a new power to call Aeon Cores. Aeon Cores is basically our precursor to the Faith, almost-ish, like our Aeon. Instead of flooding power into an Aeon, a summoner really can just flood power wherever they want it and manifest whatever they see. That's how strong a summoner can be. Now, let's get into the audio drama some more. Kiwami and Kiwami, summoner, guardian, those relationships are stressed here because love is very important and sex is very important too to making cores. It's not the only way, however, it is a way, a more mature way than we would have discussed in Final Fantasy X and X2. And I don't have a problem with the director wanting to take that specific direction. However, love is important, obviously, because to be powerful, you have to have some connection to your guardians. Guardians, that term also changed by Bevelle. Guardians wasn't just people guarding them on a pilgrimage. It was literally whole battalions guarding a summoner to protect them at all costs. Yes, over time, you didn't need so many people. However, it didn't have to just be, guardians just didn't have to be people you had bonds with and potential Aeon Cores. It could have been a regular soldier protecting a summoner. Arami or Aragami, her character, she seems to facilitate the idea of tying the old world to the new. With the Faith dead, the summoners and their roles, all that's changed. Besaid, as well as most of the world, has changed. The old and the young constantly battle. You've heard me say that in a few videos. Waka, Lulu, all our main staple characters are here, and I like the juxtaposition of a Waka and Lulu type character, the first two people we meet, and then giving us, two new people. I like that. You don't see really a mention of like X2 too much in here. You just need to understand that with Sin coming back, it gives Yuna purpose. However lame you might think Sin coming back is, that's fine. However, if you take the idea that every Sin is not the same, and we can think of this as a different Sin iteration, it might really open up theories and ideas and solidify some more of what Bevelle was doing with Sin. We don't know the origins of Sin, quite frankly. And for this summoner or beckoner to have existed while, Jecht Sin was around, and to think he would call that seems a little far-fetched, given that Vegnagun was really just sealed away. So any other threats and any other possible bad guys, quote unquote, have been dealt with, or they would have not been bad, they would have been good and tried to get rid of Sin. And I wholeheartedly believe that. Belgemine tried, and she was strong for a while till we surpassed her. So I'm really inclined to think that this is a person from another time, space, or continuum of reality to which they're calling something else. However, I think every Sin does have a certain amount of transferable traits and why people can assume it's Sin, because you have to also imagine that people would not have only seen one Sin in their lifetime. It's very possible that people could see about 3. I'm thinking about 3 because there was definitely people alive when Braska defeated Sin, and definitely people alive when Yuna defeated Sin. So those are definite. That's a fact. So we can imagine that people can see maybe 3. Let's say every 20 years, 20, 40, 60. Let's just go with that for now, maybe. So it could be a different Sin, a person from a different era. Of course, you always have to introduce new characters, and people get iffy about that, but that's fine. Chuami is our narrator, doesn't really like Lulu because she's outspoken. I guess the big one here is Tidus is in Bevelle. Let's talk about that for a second. Why is he in Bevelle? Now, I wouldn't say it's because him and Yuna are split up. I believe that they get their time together in the novella, which is what Tidus wants because he comes back. He does play blitzball. We can imagine that the world has changed a little bit more since the novella. I placed the novella happening less than a year and about 6 months after the events of Final Fantasy X2, and that is the maximum. A year is a maximum. However, I really place it less than 6 months in the grand scheme of time, if we want to place it that way. This audio drama does have the potential to take place a while after that, and by a while I could mean 2 years. 2 seems about right because Tidus was gone for 2 years, and it would be nice to have him come back for 2 years. And he does mention he is weak in the novella. However, there were signs to me, at least, that he was regaining strength. But the time frame in here could be a lot more, and I in fact hope it to be a lot more. I would like to see an older Vidal. I would like to see an older Lulu and Waka, and I would like to see that. I don't want Waka to be a buffoon, and Tidus isn't dumb either. He was never really that dumb buffoon character people tried to make him out to be, and do that stereotype. But that's but Tidus being in Bevelle could be really anything, because in the novella Tidus isn't really remembered the way you think he would be and should be remembered as one of the Guardians, and it's strange to think about that maybe Faith, when beckoned, or Faith in general, disappear from the mind. Waka says something interesting, that Sin lives in the summoners' minds. Okay, but the summoners are still alive. But what summoner would beckon Sin? That poses the question. No one in our Spira, I believe. And there are hints in novella that You can kind of transfer time and walk between these alternate timelines. Like Titus did a dope scene where he ran on the beach and he ran from an old time, like pre-1,000-year war Spira to present right in front of Wakka's face. So you gotta keep that in mind always. I think I'm going a little long, and I didn't get to talk about all the stuff I wanted to talk about. I'm really upset because I had to lay that groundwork first for you. Because if I didn't lay that down, you would just really be confused. So now I invite you, with the information I have provided, the factual information anyway, because if it was theory or conjecture, I denoted that. So don't separate the two things I said and formulate your own ideas. I invite you to re-listen to The Will audio drama. Keep in mind it's a drama and it's meant to be dramatic, okay? That's very important too, because art comes in many forms and drama is one of them. If you really want to think about it, a lot of Final Fantasy games are a drama or a play. I like to call Final 15 a play, but anyway, I invite you to go watch it again with this new perspective, fresh-faced eye, and I highly, highly recommend, before you even do that, just go read the novella. All the scans are up there. You can go check it out. Even the first video of my read-through I did, and I read it for the first few chapters, but then I use a bot to read it to you guys as it was faster and better, and I got little recap episodes. I put them in arcs 1, 2, and 3. You don't have to, I don't need the views for that. You don't need to do that because in all honesty, it'll be quicker for you to read it. However, if you want to throw it on the background while you're doing something else and listen to my beautifully annoying voice, you're more than welcome to. I'm just making suggestions here, and I really hope this cleared up some of your questions. If this series gets a little more love and people have questions, put them in the comments, and I can do a way more in-depth on the novella and this audio drama, way more, and I can do those theories all day. But if not, this might conclude this part of Final Fantasy, where I have other things with Final Fantasy Spira I want to do with Final Fantasy X2, some hidden things like those shoe puffs I found, and then what I want to see in Final Fantasy X3, which may well be a very upcoming soon video, because with everything that I've learned, there are some things I definitely want to see in Final Fantasy X-3, and I first of all really hope it just gets made. But I'm GK. Have a good day, and try to go to this with an open mind.
Very strongly. Someone strongly wished for sin. But what are we gonna do? Only a summoner and the final Aeon can defeat sin.
But Lady Yuna, without the faith...
Yuna, let's go back to Besaid. They'll push this all on you. It doesn't matter to people that there's no faith. Sin is for summoners in their minds. It's just how it is. Tergum, you coming?
I will abide by Lady Yuna's decision. Lady Yuna!
I have to see Tidus.
What is the deal with this woman? Seriously!
Chuami...
What are we waiting on now?
Chuami? Chuami, that room is... Shh. Chuami, it's not polite to eavesdrop.
Don't tell me you're not curious about what the High Summoner and the Superstar are talking about.
What does that mean?
You had that girl, so...
I told you, Marfi is just a friend.
Really?
Come on, Yuna. If you just think for a minute...
I can't think.
You're not yourself.
Yeah. Something's wrong with me. I didn't think this would... I'm sorry.
Well, as long as you're aware of it.
No, that's not what I mean. I'm sorry, but I'm no longer looking at you.
What?
I think I'm in love with someone else. don't know.
Let me meet him then.
I'm sorry.
Kurgum, this is unreal. Unreal! The world is about to end and she's having a spat! Why on Spira are you crying, Kurgum?
Kiwami, I'm sorry. I'm in love with Lady Yuna. That's why I can't be with you. I'm sorry.
Say what now? Since when is our relationship like that? What's going on here?
If it's not like that, then it's fine. Yes, let's say goodbye here. We each have to go our separate ways.
Kurgum?
You can't understand, Kiwami. Only summoners can.
Ah, and there it is. The Doomsday Statement.
I'm sorry.
Whatever. So I left the Summoners and came back to Besaid. I was a little frazzled and not thinking straight, but I probably came here to drag out the people who defeated Sin once. Determined though he may be, it was too big a task for Kurgum.
And that was it.
So you just came crawling back here? That's a laugh.
So who do you think this guy is Yuna loves?
Figure it out yourself.
But she said it was someone I don't know. What?
Look for her, find her, embrace her.
But that's...
You're really pathetic. I thought you knew Yuna better than that.
I thought I did.
Thought you did.
I hate to interrupt, but Sin? Those two knew it was hopeless, but
Who said it was hopeless?
what?
I mean, Sin came back, right? What's to stop anything else from coming back?
Does that mean... I didn't quite understand, so I looked at Tidus. With furrowed brows, he looked intently at the mayor, then suddenly opened his eyes wide.
We have to go.
Yeah.
I was as confused as ever, but I couldn't ask. All I could ask was... I wonder where they are now.
Wherever they are, we have to get there.
Even though she dumped you?
I made a promise that we'd always be together.
Really? The mushy stuff now, I thought? But as I saw the pain in his face, I could say nothing.
I will defeat Sin. I must defeat Sin.